This is Matrix Lord 212, and are the writers of Doctor Who afraid of creating a story for the Master? That is what this subject is about. Basically, I think that no one wants to handle trying to rack their brain in creating a story for the Master return. There are no rules that say that the Master can't return or that they can't take characters from Russell T Davis's era. So whatever kind of guidebook that they're creating, it turns out Moffat is so dead set against creating a foe for the Doctor that he may lose, that his stories have become just, the Doctor's going to win. He's basically taken the death out of Death, Moffat, because he's killed just about everyone. Amy, Rory, Clara, the Doctor, River. I mean, he's got to stop killing people off. That's what I think it is. And he needs to do something. If he's afraid to write about the Master, that's the first thing he should do, is throw himself into it. Because if he truly is a genius at writing, and if he truly can handle anything, 50th anniversary, why can't he handle a Master story? And you know what? I don't think he can. Because I think he's scared. I think they're all scared to write a Master story because they're worried about screwing it up. I have a unique perspective on this because, I'm not on any way, shape, or form on caliber with them. Because they do the show, but I have published 10 books. I wrote 10 books. I'm doing more books, and you should never limit yourself as a writer. You shouldn't say, "Hey, I can't write about this. I can't write about that." You should write whatever you're inspired to write. But in their case, they have to write stuff for Doctor Who. So why is the Master totally out of the realm of possibility? And yes, they did mention it recently that, if the story warrants it. Well, the only way the story warrants it if you create the story yourself. Okay? So just like the negativity that Moffat had about bringing the Ice Warriors back, that Mark Gatiss had to bug him for 3 years, maybe he needs to be open-minded and just, bring the Master back and stop the nonsense already. And to not touch on the Time War, that's like a cop-out, because no one said you can't touch on the Time War. Only you said, okay? But, no one said it. Russell T Davis touches upon it. There's no reason why you can't bring the Time War into it. So, in other words, to hide the fact that a Time War, you create a paradox where the Time War never existed, or you just don't acknowledge it. That's bad writing. That is bad writing. I mean, as much as I said Moffat's a genius in the writing department, the negativity side to it is that if he doesn't mention the Time War, do stories with the Time War, or the past characters of series 1, 2, 3, 4, then that's just bad writing. I mean, that's an excuse. This Doctor has become a Moffat, so to speak, because you go from the Doctor going from the Time War and losing all his people, and the first place he goes to is Earth, because that's his second home away from home. He gets a companion, Rose, again, and she teaches him basically to be more human, to open up to companions and everything else, and he does. And then at the end he regenerates into the 10th Doctor, which he's more human, and it's a gradual progression to the character. But what would happen is after the 10th Doctor lost everything, was miserable, when he regenerated, he was more alienistic. He was more of an alien, less human and detached. And the thing is that I don't like Matt Smith detached. I don't, and when I say detached, I mean that as the Doctor, he should do everything in his power to save his companions. They go above and beyond to save him. Lake Silencio, fixed points in time, the like. I mean, really. So to leave Amy and Rory in New York without any way to save them is baloney, and it's bad writing on Stephen Moffat's part. It's also bad writing on Stephen Moffat's part that the angels, that they don't want to grow into power where they were, so huge with the Statue of Liberty and everything that he left an angel there. That's bad writing because, the whole plot is for the angels not to become powerful. As a doctor, do you leave a Dalek in the street to shoot people? No, you don't. So that's bad writing on that part. And I have to say, I a lot of the times, most of the times, I'm always praising Moffat, but you know what? I gotta be open-minded too and say, hey, you know what? Why did you leave an angel in Manhattan to grow to where they take over Manhattan again? Why do you disrespect River Song? Where, he's just not, he needs to get her out of the library. Because in a way, that's like hell itself. Because that's not good enough for River Song. River Song's used to being on adventures and everything. And you're going to leave her in there for all eternity? She'll never die. It's come on. So, if you're the doctor and your wife sacrificed everything, for you not to have the same respect to either get her a body or do something or give regeneration energy or something to basically restore her back to form, then that's still not cool. It's everybody's sacrificing for the doctor, but the doctor ain't sacrificing. I don't see him sacrificing anything. Kume goes to war, we got an army to save Amy and stuff, but I don't see it, and I want to start seeing it. I want to start seeing, alright, we did see, the doctor's dying and he's pleading with River to save Amy or Rory, but, he needs to open up, really. Maybe he does need a romance, Matt Smith, because this is nonsense now. Okay? And I think that just as Mark Gatiss had the courage to do Ice Warriors, I think Moffat needs to stop being a child and just stop being an ego where he's the head of the show and his opinion matters and he doesn't listen to anybody. You know what, dude? Stop being a baby and just do a Master episode or Lorani or whatever. And if you can't do it, it's because you just can't handle it. I think. That's baloney. I already created a story about how the Master returns. And I did it where he wouldn't return with the Time Lords and everything. I said if he didn't go back to Gallifrey, maybe he leaped to the other side of the world and then he's stuck in Antarctica where he can't even leave out of there because there's not enough food for him to have enough energy to get out. So he's like a bearded, crazed lunatic where there's no civilization, there's nobody, just a part of Antarctica where he's just eating fish. And just they have some expedition or something in Antarctica, they stumble upon him, he's, and people start missing, and the doctor, winds up going there and finds Master crazed. That's a way out of explaining that he didn't go back to the Time War. And having the Master bearded and even more of a lunatic. Where, of course he's not on par with the Doctor because he's not thinking straight. You could even have it that he went back to Gallifrey and he took over Gallifrey. And he saved the Time War because they never returned to the original point in time because the link was broken. So they wound up going into some other universe or whatever. Or sideways in time, and then when Gallifrey does return, the Master is the ruler of all, and everybody's under his commands, and Rassilon's in some dungeon someplace. There's so many different things he could do with the Master. He could do with the Master, that's the whole thing. The Master has to keep feeding to survive. So you could just do something. You could do something to bring the Master back. And to bring him back doesn't mean that, the Master is a tough guy. Why do you want to have wimpy villains for the Doctor to take out? It's boring. It's boring. Stop. My advice to Moffat, which I'm a nobody, but so maybe sometimes he needs to listen to a nobody to get some type of perspective, okay? And if you're afraid to write a Master story, write a Master story. Because you know what? You need to take risks. Didn't you take risks where you came in life where that's how you got to do Doctor Who? Because, you did Coupling, you did Jekyll, you did all these shows, and you did the comic relief, Curse of the Fatal Death. Didn't you take risks to get this position that you're in? Take a damn risk for once. And do something for Doctor Who that's absolutely amazing. I think you took the fun out of it because you made it like a job and not fun. And I think, Moffat, you need to make it more, have fun with it. Do as a fan what you want to do. And don't be like, I'm the showrunner, that's not my responsibility, I can't be a fan. No, be a fan. Be a fan. Do the Master. Do the Ronnie. Bring them back. Explain it to people. Have them bump into an old Ronnie, played by the original actress, in some place out of the way, a nursing home or something, or whatever, and have her regenerate or something, or fob watch, whatever. Don't be afraid to touch on characters. Bring Captain Jack into it. You don't have to bring the whole Torchwood clan. Just bring Captain Jack. Make Captain Jack be with Madame Vastra, Jenny, and Strax. And it's not Torchwood no more. Drop the whole Torchwood thing if you want to drop the Torchwood thing. River Song, she could have led the Sarah Jane Smith adventures. She could have led the kids. She could have stepped in. You know, I know they don't want to touch on that, but I mean, you know, to say, oh, an adventure continues forever. I mean, the character died. I mean, the actress died. So, you know, that's the whole thing. I know they were afraid to touch on it, but you know, like that's the whole thing. If I want to write about something, I write about it. And then when, you know, sometimes I come along with somebody and they say, could you write about this? And I'm like, well, I don't know if I can because I got to be inspired. And then, you know what, I write about it because I'm saying, well, why am I limiting myself where I can't? There is no such thing as can't. You can. And I think that Stephen Moffat needs to start saying that to himself. Like, whatever's going on in the world, in his life, you know what? I can. As Stephen Moffat, you should say, I can. There's no such word as can't. So, you could bring the Master back. You could bring the Ronnie back. You could bring Doctor Who back to his glory. Okay? But the one thing I have to say as a fan, and a lot of us agree, is stop killing everybody off every 5 seconds. Because you're like a mass murderer, but then you're not because you're bringing her back to life. So, you know, it's like the thing was done already with Rory. But now Rory's not here, and now you're doing it with Clara. It's like, you know, alright, I like the storyline, but it's getting old. Like, it's getting to be where there is no rules with Doctor Who. You know what I'm saying? Like, the sonic screwdriver, you used to be able to have limits. Now there's no limits, and that's not good, because that means that you have to have some type of guidebook, some type of rule with the show where it's not totally fantasy, and you're turning it into a fantasy thing. You know, the sonic screwdriver cannot open up wood. It can't. So, you know, you need to do something with it. You need to do something. And this whole theory about time travel that you took from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, that's not Doctor Who. That's paradox. You know, you can't... He never escaped to Pandorica as far as I'm concerned. He didn't. And the way to write it perfectly would have been that when Amelia was in the past and she opened up the thing, the Doctor was in there. Okay, because it was a cop-out to save Amy Pond, but like that's a paradox. You gotta stop having paradoxes in Doctor Who, okay? Because first of all, you have to, if you want to know what paradox is, and you know what, no, don't get pissed, Stephen Moffat, but like go watch all the other shows. I know you've seen them already, Back to the Future, and just about the time after time, Time Machine, everything. Like, you can't, like, that makes no sense when you do it like that. Where the Doctor in the future leaves a note for the past. Well, what if he never got out of Pandorica? How could he get out of Pandorica, really? It's like a paradox. Think about it for a minute. He's in the Pandorica. Okay? When Amelia touched the thing, he should have popped out, not Amy. That was like, oh, come on now. So... telling you, I just don't like paradoxes in Doctor Who. I don't like it that they established this for the whole time that your past self can't touch your present self, because then there's an explosion. Because they had an explosion with the Brigadier. They did that. So, alright, they could explain it away with the Doctor where he's different, his different selves. He could shake his hand and all that stuff, but if Matt Smith is encountering Matt Smith, there should be an explosion. If Kazran Sardik is touching younger Kazran Sardik, like shaking his hand, hugging him, there should be an explosion. If Amy is with Amelia, there should be an explosion. There's no explosion. Meaning this show is in chaos. Okay? And another thing I'm going to touch upon, which I know it's already filmed and everything, and I'm not sure this is the case. Okay? But this was this thing that everybody's talking about, and it's not secretive either anymore. That everybody's saying that you're going to make Clara Oswald the 12th Doctor. That would be horrendous. The Doctor kissing himself? Really? No. It's all over the internet, and everybody's talking about it. If you do that, the show is over. If you mention the Doctor's name, the show is over. So unless you want to cancel the show, yeah, you could do that, but don't do that. Please don't. If you care about the show, don't do that. Because even though you may think it's a great story, everyone's going to leave, to tell you the truth. Because, like, I don't know where you're getting it from, that the overall consensus is that everybody wants the Doctor as a woman. That's not the case at all, okay? And I'm nothing against women, because I have plenty of Doctor Who fans that are women, and they don't agree with it either. So that's saying a lot, first of all. And, you know, you really need to, like, if you film that, then unfilm it, or film something else, because it is not going to work. I see it in forums, I see it, everybody's talking about it, so it's not a secret. It's not a top secret thing. It's everywhere. And it's, as far as in America, people are talking about it. So don't turn Clara into the 12th Doctor. Don't make the 12th Doctor a woman. It will be like, like, why do you got to do that? You know? Like, to try to spice things up. If you can't spice it up as a writer and you have to do that, that's a cop-out. That is what you do when you, like, run out of ideas, is you make the Doctor a woman. And that is something that probably will happen, I would say, in the future, but not now. So, you know, this is just, look, a lot of times, and you can look at my 1,200 videos or whatever, 95% of the time, I am praising Stephen Moffat. And then there are the few times that I don't. And, you know, when he cut the series and he split the series and the BBC blamed him, yeah, like, and when we created all these campaigns, yeah. But the thing is that I do think he's, you know, he's a great writer, but put your head in the game and do it already, right? Do it already. Do it already. Bring the Master back. Talk about the Time War. That's how you make it interesting, because you touch on subjects you were afraid to touch on before. Just get into it. Stick your head into it and saying, I can write anything because I'm Stephen Moffat. Well, that's probably true, but do it then. Do it then. Stop, like, you know, you want to create new characters and everything. Listen, dude, just go with the characters. Some of the characters are already there. You're a writer. You could explain the Ronnie way to everybody. You could have him, you know, mention the Ronnie in one episode and 5 episodes later she appears. I mean, look what you're doing with the Master. You mentioned him in Town Called Mercy. You mentioned little hints in there, like in Bells of St. John, the clip that you're talking about, oh, you know, you don't bring the TARDIS into battle because you don't want this. And then that means that the TARDIS is going to blow up when you do stuff like that. And it's like, oh my God, it's going to be without the TARDIS. That's his greatest fear. Or maybe I could be wrong, but you should go into it. If you're writing for Series 8, it's a blank page. That's the greatest thing of having a notebook or an empty pad or something, because you could do anything from scratch. You know, when the Doctor encounters the Weeping Angels again, I don't think he's going to shake the hand. Maybe it's me. In fact, I don't think he's even going to be nice. The way I see it, that he's going to be so obsessed and the anger is going to come out that he will wipe out every angel there is, or find a way to do it. Okay, because they are responsible for him losing Amy and Rory. It wouldn't be believable if he didn't, because it doesn't matter that he's not human or whatever. Come on now, okay? Look at the way he acted with the Daleks when they destroyed his people. The disgust in his tone of voice. Yeah, he should be like that with the angels now, because Amy and Rory and even River's upset. So, I hope you look at this, Stephen Moffat, and, you know, like I say, I'm Joe Schmo to you. Who am I? I wrote 10 books, big deal. You're a showrunner of like 2 shows, you've done movie scripts in Hollywood, and you're famous and everything, but you know what, dude, sometimes you gotta come down to earth from, you know, your castle in the sky, and you gotta say, hey, you know what, that's a good idea, or maybe, you know what, don't limit yourself, that you can't write about this and you can't write about that. You're Stephen Moffat, for crying out loud. Okay, you can write about anything, so do it, man. Bring the Master back and stop it with the nonsense, because everybody wants to see the Master. Matt Smith wants to see the Master. John Sim wants to see the Master. Bring the Master back, for crying out loud. Series 8 and the Weeping Angels. Have the Doctor go all out. Please, take care. Be good.